Welcome to FridayNightGlory.com, Texas High School Football Podcast, Ep.2. I'm here with Kenny Matthews and Chase Shelton. How are you guys doing today?
Great. Let's get it on. Week one.
It's week one of the Texas High School football season. It is upon us. It's here, and there's a lot of great matchups. So we're going to start with some under-the-radar teams that you guys have kind of looked at and teams that may have a chance at making some noise but may be overlooked by the media. So, Chase, I'm going to let you go first. Talk about some of your under-the-radar teams for the 2021 season.
Yeah, so I've got two really in mind. First one, going to 3A, Pilot Point Bearcats. Obviously, in Texas high school football, we know all the big schools. Sometimes we forget about the little ones. But Pilot Point, last year, 10-4 record, had a good little run in the playoffs. They've got a great running back in Ish Harris, who I believe is under the radar and a little underrated. They had, like I said, had a great year last year. I think this team will have another good season. I think Ish Harris is going to be like the Derrick Henry to that team and just kind of carry them. Like I said, 3A, there's some competition, but I believe the Pilot Point Bearcats are someone that has not been talked about. And for anybody who knows football, some players like that. That's a good chip on your shoulder. And Pilot Point's a small town, and I know a little something about these small town country boys that play football, and they know how to do it. So Pilot Point is a team to look out for.
It reminds me of what Jordan Whittington did for Kiro a couple of years ago. He's kind of got the same impact to me.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely. That's a good comparison. They're both physical guys that can really make plays, make something out of nothing.
Absolutely.
So, Kenny, under the radar team, who you got?
I went with under the radar teams here and locally to kind of give it a different spin a little bit. And I'm going to stick my neck out on a limb a little bit for Little Elm. I think head coach Kendrick Brown, this is kind of a do or not do type of season. There's been a lot of promise over there the last 3 or 4 years, and frankly, they haven't delivered. Now their district, good gosh, the district is 5, 6, 8 is a very unforgiving district with Allen, Geyer, Prosper, the Miss Kenny schools. So you don't get a gimme like some guys in some districts there. But they return 10 starters they return 9 starters 10 starters on offense, 8 on defense. They're led by quarterback Jonathan Mayter. His wide receiving core is very experienced and polished off. You got Rashawn Thomas, you got Noah McCamp, you got Dylan Evans. Moving the football is not going to be their problem. Kind of a little worried about maybe their defense, but they got a veteran offensive line that started off as babies their sophomore years, and 4 out of the 5 now are seniors there. So I really think that this is the team. They're not going to win district. They're probably not going to finish second in district, but for a 4th place team, they're going to be a very tough out in the first round if they do get to the playoffs.
Definitely. When you talk about under the radar teams, I went with Grand Prairie. So I saw them in the scrimmage last week. Their O-line, they're 6'4", 6'5" across the board, all 5 of them, 275 at least. And Coach Brown's, the basketball coach, his nephew is the right tackle, and he is physical, mean, nasty. And they have a good little running back. He's got some speed, but Savion Red is going to be the guy. He looked really good at quarterback. You wouldn't think that he's a first-year quarterback watching the way he picked apart the Keller Timber Creek defense, and he's really physical. He had some really good runs, but he also showed some pocket presence, stepped up, and made some really good throws. So if he keeps his head on his shoulders, I think they can come third and that second or third in that district, in that Arlington Grand Prairie district. I think they have a really good shot. But Savion Red has to step up mentally because we know physically he has the tools. It's just, can he step up and be a leader? And Coach Brown, I got a chance to catch up with him. He was raving about his leadership development since he's moved to quarterback. He says it seems to be a change of attitude and a change of, his character a little bit, just taking that leadership role with the quarterback. So I'm going to go with Grand Prairie as my under-the-radar team.
Adam Sandoval and Matt Davison are very happy about your pick.
Oh yeah, no, no doubt, both of them are.
I didn't
So
mean to cut you off, Chase.
go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, I was gonna say another team that I think people should try to keep an eye out for. It was a debate between Pilot Point and this team is Rockwall Heath. They're maybe not as much under radar because people do know who they are, but when you compare them to like Cedar Hill, even Rockwall, some people might not look at them as much, but the three big weapons on offense, their quarterback, running back, and receiver, are all 3 stars, all committed to big D1 schools. Jay Fair as the receiver, Josh Hoover, the quarterback. Those two have a great connection. I watched them last year in that epic overtime battle against Cedar Hill. Truthfully, I thought maybe they would pull it out. And if they did, I think they would have actually made it to state against Katy. Now, would I have picked them to beat Katy? I don't know. But it was either, the winner of that game, I believe, would have went to state. And Cedar Hill, of course, won. But I think Rockwall Heath is a team that we all should kind of keep an eye out for this year as well.
They're loaded offensively, no question.
Yes,
They really are. They're
Loaded.
bringing up a lot of experience too, from that
Yep.
team last year. And Katie, we were there for that barn burner between Cedar
Yes,
Hill
we
and
were.
Rockwall Heath last year.
And she's remember the real Zach Evans didn't play. He was out with a knee injury. So
Very true.
Preston Landis had to kind of take the whole load himself. And that was a thrilling day out at Old Globe Life Park to that day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely was.
everybody liked it.
So, Katie, you have any other under the radar teams that you would like to mention?
I've actually got 4. So I picked also the Jesuit Rangers, Coach Hickman. I think that's a team that Gage Roy seems like he's been there forever. Their quarterback, we covered him at the Bullet Combine in 2020 with all the quarterbacks that were there then. And you can see the development. He's matured. He's gotten a little bit bigger. I like about him is just calm. He's very calm in the pocket. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's maybe not going to be your most electric passer, but he puts the ball where it needs to be, and he's not going to put his team in a bad position. But their best player to me is all-world athlete Robert Fitzgerald. He's the one that got the defensive MVP at that Bullet Combine of a couple of years ago. Northwestern commit. He does everything. The game I went and covered against MacArthur last year, he scores on a punt return. Scored in the Wildcat formation. He scored on an interception return, and then he also was punting the ball to the 1-yard line. I mean, the guy is a phenomenal athlete, great humble kid. Hickman has a way of keeping all of his kids over there at Jesuit very humble. They're not very flamboyant. Plus, they probably have one of the best offensive tackles in the area, in Matt Krakoff. He's got over 25 offers on D1 offers this year. So, my theme is when you have an under radar type team, you always look at the offensive line. Their offensive line is very good. That's kind of my theme and with what I got here. And I think that's going to really get them away. They went the farthest they've ever gone since they've joined UIL in the playoffs last year. Their district is very manageable also with the Irving schools, Richardson. So you're not going to probably get beat up on too much. And that's good for them because their numbers are lower, on that in the Class 6A level. So that's always good for them. But it's just enough competition to keep them fresh. So I think Coach Hickman is one of the most underrated coaches in the area also anyway. So that might be another reason why I'm leaning towards them as one of the under radar teams.
Definitely. They made that deeper. Oh, go ahead, Chase.
Oh, no, I was saying I like that pick.
Yeah, they made that run last year. I think they could build off of it. And you talked about Gage, he had a cannon as a sophomore, and he's only developed that arm even more and more. So, it's going to be really interesting to see what they can accomplish. So, Kenny, do you have any other under the radar?
I've got some other words. I'll go through it quickly here. I went with Reedy as another one of mine. They had a very disappointing season last year. They were expecting a lot. They lost Nate Anderson the year before, and I think that kind of hurt them offensively. But they've got a very underrated quarterback in A.J. Padgett that's back there this year. He had 2,200 yards passing, 21 TDs, and 6 rushing. But I think that they have the huge jump is from their running back, Dennis Moody. the sophomore last year played really well. They're expecting huge things out of him from, head coach Chad Cole is this year for a big step up. Plus, they got a monster Prestonwood Baptist transfer and AJ J-Rowe that's coming over there with him. I mean, and with I think that now Padgett's got a truly, a go-to threat at the wide receiver spot. I think the district's a little manageable. I know up top it's a little heavy, but I really think that Reedy is one of those that they've got good teams. Last year, I think they got a bad rap with some injuries and not playing well. I expect them to kind of have a bounce back this year. My next one I've got is, and they actually play Colleyville Heritage this week. It's Grapevine Mustangs. I think Coach Alexander's done a phenomenal job over there with a very lower enrollment that goes over that way. But his offensive line year after year after year is solid. Those guys are huge. And they have one of the most underrated running backs in the area, and Caleb Tejada, that's coming back for his senior year. Seems like he's been there forever. Yes, comes from that long list of Tejadas that have been playing in the Division I football over the years. His cousins have done extremely well at Baylor and I believe at TCU. Feel sorry for him because his dad is going through COVID. His dad is on a ventilator through COVID, so he needs our prayers big time. It's been a big thing that's going on the last week and a half over there. Hope this is something that doesn't derail them, because this time last year, he lost his grandfather right before the season started. So it seems like the last couple of years, they didn't get off to a good start. But they're really loaded on both sides. And that's another district that's very manageable for them. I mean, it's Carrollton, Creekview, and a few Fort Worth schools. So you're not going to get beat up. He's going to get some cheap yards. But the thing about it, he's going to be fresh. Caleb will be fresh for the playoff run. They play Colleyville Heritage. They're backyard dogs, on Thursday night, which will probably be a really good game. But I really expect them to play really well because of that offensive line and because of Caleb Tejada. If they get any kind of good quarterback play this year, they will be a tough out. And they got to the regional semis last year. So I think that that's something that you can also build on with all those returning guys coming back this year. And then, let's see. I picked my last one I went with a 4A school, Salina. Now, I know you say under the radar. Last year, they were 6-5. That's not a Salina type year for them. Normally that's a 9-1, 8-2 type team. But the reason I really like them is their offensive line is anchored by Michael Remps, and he is a load. He will get all state consideration this year at offensive tackle. They got a star-studded offensive line coming back. So again, offensive line to me is huge on the high school level. You can grind out some games. You can win some games with your offense. Quarterback Noah Bentley's back after a very solid sophomore campaign. You got to know he's going to get better. But, I mean, all he did, he's got Colin Ulrich to throw to, who had 900 yards and 10 TDs last year. And they got two phenomenal linebackers to anchor their defense. They got Hunter Neely. He had 95 tackles. And listen, 27 tackles for loss last year in an interception. I mean, 27 of your 95 tackles are for loss. That's some major damage. But then Zach Vivariva, he almost did the same thing. He had 76 tackles, and he had 25 tackles for a loss and a sack. I mean, that's some huge production right in the middle of your defense right there. So that's going to keep you in ball games also. So I really think that Coach Bill Elliott's kind of set up where nobody's really talking about them. They're talking about the Argyles. They're talking about Paris. And they're talking about Melissa. He can maybe do some damage this year. So look out for Salina.
It's a good pick.
Definitely. They went 4 rounds deep last year, and that's a really good pick. They got a lot of talent coming back. So the second under the radar team I went with is my dad's alma mater, Garland Owls. Sergio Perez, the South Dakota commit. He just seems to get better and better each day. And, Coach Danny Russell does a good job of coaching those guys up. And they have a lot of talent coming back for Garland. And I think they can compete in that district with those schools. And I think they're going to maybe get that third or fourth playoff spot. And, you can't count those third and fourth seeds out because a lot of times they make deep runs in the playoffs. And because some districts are a little more top heavy than others, some of them are tougher. So I went with the Garland Owls because I think defensively they're going to be physical. They play fast. They have a good scheme. I think the way the coach's scheme is going to be very important. especially stopping the run game because they had some issues with that last year. But I'm going to go with Sergio Perez. We saw him at the Bullet Combine his sophomore year, and it just seemed like he went out there and competed every time. He got better and better each year. And, he's somebody I thought could have a little more traction, actually, but in the recruiting process. But he's a South Dakota commit, and he's going to have a really good senior year. So the Garland Owls, my dad's alma mater, I'm going to go with them.
Well, they also got Mr. Beidle at safety, got Mr. Hudson ever at wide receiver. I mean, there are some big weapons over there at Garland. And not only on top of that, I think he made a very good point about Sergio. Kind of gets swallowed up by Hoover and Lock in that area, and he's kind of the forgotten one over there. So he kind of plays with a chip on his shoulder, but he's also one of the humblest guys around. He's always listening. He's very, 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 very respectful and cooperative. And so you got to wish for a guy like that, especially when you kind of get a little overlooked. So I do like that pick.
Definitely. He just always takes the coaching. You always like to see players be listening to the coaches and just take that constructive criticism and use it to get better. And so we're going to move on to top 5 players to watch in week 1. Chase, I'm going to go ahead and let you go first with it.
Yeah, so, this is week 1. Of course, we're excited, but the players are even more excited. So it's kind of tough to pick because everyone's going to try to ball out. But number 5, I've got, and I spoke about him last week, Lovejoy's tight end / receiver, Mari Murdoch. He's a big dude. 6'5", 215, 220. I'm sure he's gained a little more muscle in the offseason, but a big dude. Lovejoy last year had a great passing game. We all knew what Rucker was doing. His main target, Reed Westervelt. They've graduated, so of course they're having to figure out that quarterback. But when you've got a 6'5" threat passer or player to pass to, it just makes the game.
I think we lost him.
You might have lost him.
Yeah, I think we lost him. But
well, I could go with the player while he's doing it until he comes back on. My number 5 guy is going to be Duncanville defensive end, Mario Bohr. Reason why I say that is I think he has a chance of being the best defensive player in the area. He comes with high accolades, obviously. He's been a dominant force for, good gosh, it seems like forever on a very talented defense. So that allows him to sometimes get one-on-one, which normally he would not, get one-on-ones where he'd get special attention. I'm looking forward to seeing him big time, have a breakout year. That would be my number 5.
So Chase, go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, I was saying, Amari Murdoch, 6'5". I think he's going to have not just a good week, a great year. And again, Lovejoy is one of those teams I said that needs to be on the lookout. This kid is going to be the guy that I feel like when he steps on the field, you just look at him and you're like, all right, we're going to have a tough game, but he's a guy that I think will shock a lot of people this year.
Definitely. And my number 5 guy, I went with the guy from Duncanville as well on that loaded defense, Jordan Crook, the linebacker, very physical guy, decommitted from Oklahoma State, and he's committed to Arkansas Razorbacks now. And he's going to join that DFW core they have there with Jalen Catalon in the backfield and safety, first team all SEC he got. So Jordan Crook, really physical linebacker, can finish plays. He can cause turnovers, but what's really impressive is his coverage. He's actually really good in coverage. That's improved from his sophomore year going into his senior year now. So he's my number 5 player to watch in week 1.
You won't find a better kid. He's a really, really good kid. It's hard not to root for that guy. It really is.
Definitely. And Chase, number 4 player to watch in week 1.
Yeah, so number 4, it's pretty obvious. Everybody should know who this guy is. Evan Stewart. I mean, I know it's crazy to think to watch for, but I think with all the big games going on, sometimes we're not looking at just the individual talent. I haven't got to watch this kid play live. I've seen his off-season stuff. I've seen highlights, and there's a reason why he is a 5-star and arguably the best receiver in the nation. His speed, his size, his hand is just ridiculous. And unfortunately for a lot of DBs this year, they're going to get embarrassed. I hate to say it, but that's just what this kid does. I mean, he's special. Like I said, haven't got to watch him live yet. I hope I get the chance this year too. But just what I've seen, he's got, and it's crazy to say this, NFL talent. I mean, again, we don't know what will happen, but if he keeps that, production up, and it looks like this kid really loves the game and wants to get to the best level, I would not be surprised if we look back at this podcast in 4 or 5 years and we're, know who Evan Stewart is as an NFL receiver. And so hopefully I called it, but this week, Evan Stewart, I might call it too. I could see him going over 150 yards this week, to be honest.
Yep. He's ultra talented. There's no question.
Yes, sir.
Just ranked the top 3 player in the state of Texas. So, I mean, if not nationally as well. So it's really good talent to watch for. Kenny, number 4 to watch for in week 1.
Rockwall Heath, running back, the real Zach Evans. I wanted to see him on the comeback trail. I got to see him when Rockwall and Rockwall Heath were playing in the regional finals in baseball. He came out there with his dad, and he had told me then that he was going to commit to Minnesota, and he got cleared to get back to – he's got a full clearance to go back and working out. So, that's in, end of May. So he's had a good 2.5 months of getting in the weight room, getting to do what he needed to do, full workouts. So really rooting for him. He's a nice kid, one of my things is offensive line and humble kids, when they're humbled a little bit, it's nice to see them come. You like to see them on the comeback trail and pull for them. I mean, he's on a loaded roster. We've already kind of gone over that already about Heath. I mean, he's set up to have a huge year. And the good thing about it is he's got Preston Landis next to him. They'll take some of that off. He doesn't have to carry the whole load. So I expect real big year out of him because I remember standing on the sidelines with him against Cedar Hill, and you could just see the angst in his face that he couldn't get out there and help his teammates. So I think when you go in your senior year and you already know what college you're going to go to, that boils for you concentrating on you having a real excellent year. So Zach Evans is going to be my number 4 guy.
Yeah, it's a really good choice. I like that one. They got a really good 1-2 punch at running back, Rockwall Heath does. And so number 4, I'm going to go with the Arlington Bowie guy, offensive lineman, Devon Campbell. I mean, this guy is just a load. You see the video go viral of their scrimmage against Seguin, him just pin-rolling a guy 10, 15 yards downfield. And he's special. I remember interviewing him as a sophomore when he was a sophomore, and he has that it factor. He has that mentality that he's going to finish you off on the offensive line. He's not just going to push you and let you go. He's going to pile drive you into the ground. And you like to see that in an offensive lineman that wants to finish the play and just be mean. That's one of the qualities you look for. And, he's my number 4 player to watch in week 1. He's just a really good kid as well. He's just a really, humble kid. And when you get to know him and just talk to him in an interview, he's just so fun to talk to. Such a good kid. So he's my number 4 choice.
Like that. Yep. It's got that mean streak.
Oh, yes, he does. All right, Chase, number 3 player to watch in week 1.
Yeah, so it's the transfer from Denton Ryan, Bear Alexander, going to Brewer. When I first saw it, I mean, I don't know the full reason why, but a little shocked, I guess you could say, going from a championship contender, one of the best teams we've ever seen, to a smaller school. But it doesn't matter where he plays, whether it's at Denton Ryan, Brewer, or even when he goes to college, he's going to be a problem for these offensive linemen. About 6'3", 320, I think he is. He's a big dude. And for Brewer, again, I don't know much about them, but I would say this is probably one of the best talents they've had suit up for them in a while. And that is no disrespect to any of the players, but when you see Bear Alexander in person, you just kind of know he is a football player, and he's a good football player. They play Midlothian this week. Like I said, this kid just came off a championship team. Coming from Ryan, he's got that mentality to just go and be the best. So he's not only is he bringing that for himself, but I feel like he's going to take that leadership to this Brewer squad. Last year, they made the playoffs, I believe. Tough loss to, I don't know if they made the playoffs, but I know they had a tough loss to Colleyville Heritage, I believe. But like I said, he's going to be a havoc on this defensive line for Brewer this coming senior season.
Yeah, Coach Peterman's he's been smiling since about last February.
Oh yeah.
All right, Kitty. Number 3 player to watch in week 1.
I'm going to stay in the Rockwall area and go with Rockwall with quarterback Braden Lock. He is a guy that seems like he's been there forever. He was also at the Bullet Combine that we saw a couple of years back. Guy's gotten better each and every year. He had 2,700. He's approaching almost 10,000 career yards passing. He can get that this year. Not many high school people can say that. That's a heck of a career. And, a lot of people talk about Heath last year, but Rockwall's the one that won that district last year, and they gave it to Heath pretty good last year in that head-to-head matchup. Then, I had the pleasure of being on that field and watching. So I really expect him to be really good. He's an Ole Miss guy. He's going to have a great. I think he's perfect for. It's a Mississippi State, excuse me. I think he's perfect for Kiffin next year. Lane Kiffin. I think that's the perfect protege for him. And his team is good. So I think that when you have a senior quarterback starting his 3rd year as a starting quarterback, and he's already put up those big numbers, looking forward to see what he's going to do this week. And they have a tough game coming up too this week, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. They don't waste any time. They go right in the shooting match.
Definitely, Braden Lock, incredible. He had Jackson Smith and Jigba his sophomore year, and he broke a lot of records on that state semifinal run. And
Yep.
I expect him to have a good week this week too. And number 3, I went with a Denton Ryan player, Anthony Hill, linebacker. Just a beast. He fills those gaps. He's physical. I just like his sideline speed. His speed to cover the sidelines side to side. It's unmatched in the state. It really is. He's one of the best physical linebackers, but they also use him on the offensive side of the ball in the red zone. Last year they used him a lot at running back. They had that package where they put Big Bear Alexander at fullback and handed it to linebacker Anthony Hill, and there was a bunch of defensive guys in the backfield. DJ Arkansas was one of those guys as well. So, and you have to know they're going to reload on that offensive line, and Anthony Hill's going to get some offensive touchdowns this year. But I expect them to have a 10-tackle game this week. They have a tough game too. Longview Lobos, a little bit of a revenge tour for Longview. And I think that's going to be a really physical game, and Anthony Hill's going to have, he's going to have an advantage in that game because he's a junior now. He's a sophomore last year. He has the experience under his belt, and the way he reads plays is unmatched. He just has that it factor. He's really good at reading plays, and he's a great leader. So he's my number 3 player.
Excellent.
Good pick.
All right, Chase, go ahead and go with the number 2 pick for week 1.
So number 2 is for the game of the week, I believe. Matadi versus Duncanville. I'm going with Duncanville's defensive dude, Amari Aber, I believe is how you pronounce it. If you want to get as close to a college game without paying a college game ticket, Duncanville Friday night, there you go. You're watching the number 1 team in the nation versus, I believe, the number 13 in the nation. Some could say they're in the top 3 for Texas, Duncanville, but everybody knows this is going to be the biggest game of the year, I believe. But just the matchups alone, you're watching, again, Amari Aber, who's I don't know if he's 4 or 5-star. I know if he's 4-star, he'll be a 5-star.
He's borderline 5. It depends on which site you're with. Rivals, he's a 4. 247, he's a 5.
So we already know he is one of the best, and he's going against Matadi, and I believe that he will be a huge reason if Duncanville can pull off this upset. I believe it's going to start with him. Of course, defense, like I was, preaching last week, wins ball games. You've got Jordan Crook, We know about Duncanville's defense, but he's going to be the dude that I believe could really give this California team some trouble. And he could be the reason why this Texas-California debate, Texas could win it this Friday. And I would not be surprised to see him have a couple big sacks, tackles. It's going to be a great game, but keep an eye out for Mr. Aber.
Good pick. Absolutely. I'll make this simple. I'll give you my 2 and 1 since you guys already mentioned both of them. Anthony Hill and Evan Stewart. Obviously, Anthony Hill is probably the best defensive prospect in the class of 2023 in the state of Texas. His sideline to sideline speed is second to none. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do on both sides of the football. I understand that they're going to open up the package where he's going to be running the football, not just on the wildcat at the goal line this year. So, it'll be interesting to see how they're going to balance that with him being a two-way player. But they've had success with that two-way player over Denton Ryan, so I'm not going to sweat that at all. And we talked about Evan Stewart. Just go to his Twitter page and see that screen bubble play that he had last week in the scrimmage. That's all you need to know about Evan Stewart. It's unbelievable. He's got jets, and more jets. He's worked hard. He's really did. I'm not sure if not many people improved their stock in the offseason as much as he did on the camp circuit and the 7-on-7 circuit this year. So he's putting in the work. I know he's at Liberty. Not many people talk about Liberty. But that is, like he said, he's worth the watch. He's you pay to go see him watch and play. So those are my 2. I know we're getting about only 7.5 minutes, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But those are my 2 guys.
Definitely. And so I'm going to go ahead and go with my number 2 and 1 guys, and then we'll get to Chase's number 1 guy. But I'm going to go with number 2. I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik, quarterback for Austin Westlake, state champion. He put up some really good numbers. Number 1 quarterback in the country. Really like Clemson command. I really like the way he commands the offense. Great leadership, and they have a chance to go for that 3-peat. So I'm looking forward to watching him in week 1. And then my number 1, I actually put Evan Stewart as well. So, like Kenny said, you just go to his Twitter page and look at all the highlights he's compiled, in the scrimmage and throughout the summer on 7-on-7 circuit. So, Chase, getting to you, what's your number 1 player to watch? And then talk about the games you're covering this week.
So my number 1 player kind of links to the games I'm doing. Mr. Superman is what Kenny called him last week, Ollie Gordon. He is making a pretty big change. He running back last year. Now he's going to be quarterback. Now, I don't believe that means he's not going to be running. I think he's going to be like Lamar Jackson of high school. But he's playing Lamar, and no disrespect to Lamar Vikings. They've been good in the past. I think if they can turn it around, they will be good. But we saw what he did last year. He dominated, especially in that playoffs. And now he's going to get the ball every snap, whether it's handing off to somebody else or if he wants to fake it. Doesn't matter. That ball will be in his hands, and he's dangerous. And like Kenny was mentioning earlier, when a player commits going into their senior year, he's Oklahoma State Cowboy. So he's already kind of got that out of the way. And now he's about to make some noise, I think, this year. And I think he's a guy we need to really keep an eye on because he's going to be crazy good. Yeah. And for my games of the week, I got 2 of them. Thursday night, watching Ollie Gordon. Going to watch him play Lamar. It's going to be a great one, like I said. Lamar's got a lot of work to do to get back where they are. And it starts this week against the Trojans. And Friday, I've got the Red Rail rivalry, Grapevine versus Colleyville Heritage. These 2, anytime 2 teams play that are that good rivals, it's a great game. And these 2 teams are just like that. It's going to be interesting. Caleb Tejada is a guy that I've been kind of keeping up in the summer. And I feel like he reminds me fast. He's a very fast kid. And he's going to give Colleyville Heritage some trouble. But then for the Panthers, they've got a receiver who kind of does it all, Hogan Wasson. And I feel like that is going to be a great game. Definitely some under-the-radar games when you compare it to the South Lake and Highland Park or Duncanville. But those are the two games I've got, and I feel like they could really come down to the wire, to be honest.
Very competitive games you picked there for sure. No question.
Definitely. And Kenny, go ahead and go with the 3 games you're doing this weekend.
Yep, I'll go quickly on. I mean, we've kind of really talked about Highland Park and South Lake Carroll last week, ad nausea a little bit, but I'm looking forward to that, seeing both new signal callers next week, tomorrow night for, storied programs and storied positions at the quarterback positions at both. They'll never admit it, but there is a burden with that. There's no question to carry that torch there at that spot. On Friday night, I know Chase had mentioned earlier, I will be at the Matadi and Duncanville game. As he said before, we're going to have a bunch of 5 stars that will be on that football field Friday night. It's going to be a festive atmosphere. Matadi will travel. Duncanville will be there in groves, so, I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere out at Panther Stadium. Terrence and I will be covering that game. And I'm really looking forward to Saturday's game. Longview coming up here at the Big D at the Star and playing Denton Ryan, as we had talked about seeing Anthony Hill and those guys from Denton Ryan. That's a very, 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 storied game, played on, at the Star on Saturday afternoon. Longview's got the Jordan Hale kid, that, man, he's an all-world wide receiver. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the class of 2023 too. And we've already mentioned Denton Ryan with the kind of players they have there. Anytime Coach King is out there, they're going to play some hard-nosed football. They're going to play excellent defense, and he's going to have athletes at every position out at Longview. So should be interesting, Hennigan and Coach King getting after each other. Boy, Coach King is a good old country boy. Love talking with him, so I'm trying to get there a little bit early and see if I can get some quotes from him because he is a real good guy. And so those are my games this week. I'm looking forward to it.
That is a great weekend ahead for you. It's 3 top-level games. And so Thursday night, I'll be at Keller Fossil Ridge versus Azle. I'll get to see first glimpse of sophomore Logan Cundiff. We got to see him at the quarterback ranch this summer. Really good prospect. I'm looking forward to see him start his varsity career off. And Azle, teammate Jack Swant, they lost him in a plane crash. So I'm looking forward to see them rally around their teammates and play for each other. That's going to be a really good game. And Azle's been on the rise the last couple of years. And then Friday, I'll be freelancing with the Dallas Morning News. Prosper Rock Hill versus Burleson Centennial. That's going to be a really good one. Prosper Rock Hill has a lot of talent. They're a newer school. I'm looking forward to them compete. And Centennial runs that physical offense. They run physical. They run the ball a lot. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And then Saturday at the McKinney Stadium, McKinney North versus Westmore, Oklahoma. I'll be there with Peyton Peterson. We'll be there Saturday. That's going to be a really physical game. That's going to be some fun to watch. Westmore traveling down from Oklahoma. And, I'm looking forward to both of those teams going at it.
Yeah, you'll get to see Coach Humble over there at Prosper Rock Hill, and they've got a young, inexperienced varsity level team, but they've got some really good athletes. You're going to be amazed at how, for a second-year school, they're really competitive.
Yeah, they have a lot of talent, and that's going to wrap it up for our second episode of our Texas High School Football Podcast. Thank you, Chase, and thank you, Kenny, for joining me. Y'all have a good night, and follow us on Twitter. Follow all of our Tours and Friday Night Glory for coverage of Texas High School Football Week 1 this week. Thank y'all so much. We're signing out.
See ya. Enjoy it, everybody. It's here.